Hello and welcome to my patent presentation. My name is Jassim Alazawi. The official title of my patent issued by the United States Patent and Trade Office is Hard Disk Drive with Selectable Reading and Writing to and from Different Platter Surfaces. The patent number is 7724458. Through this slideshow presentation about the antivirus, anti-hacker hard disk drive, I shall outline the working principles and powerful impact of this revolutionary invention, which will stop all viruses and hackers from harming and compromising stored data. In this presentation, I shall touch upon hacking and viruses, hard disk drive components, data classification and storage, the function and impact of the main switch, as well as the different positions assumed by the main switch. To reveal the power of this invention and to help us appreciate how it accomplishes this important goal, perhaps it is helpful to remember what these nasty viruses do. Some forms of malware alter, add, copy, steal, or delete user data. Others merely gain access to confidential user information or record user activity. Users are often tricked into loading such malicious data and processes, or allowing malicious or unauthorized access to data by means of whatever communications paths are available, including removable data storage media and network connections. So what is wrong with the current storage devices? Why do they fail to prevent hackers from accessing stored data? Why are they useless against malicious viruses? The answer is simple. Current designs of storage devices provide limited means of segregating and protecting user data and processes from malicious access. The only way storage devices can currently be totally protected is by completely isolating any system, allowing no data to be loaded from the outside after factory setup, and providing no network connections of any sort. To help us understand how this invention accomplishes its mission, it is important we review the basic structure of a hard disk drive. As we all know, a hard disk drive consists of platter surfaces where each surface has its own read and write heads. A hard disk partition may consist of a single or multiple platter surfaces. At this stage in our presentation, it is important to sketch out how data is classified and stored, because data classification and storage critically impacts the function of this invention. Data saved on a hard disk may be classified into three categories. The first is the program files category, used for saving files such as Windows, Microsoft Office, and Photoshop. Program files will be saved on the first partition, the so-called program partition, indicated on this slide in blue. The second is the confidential data category, which will be saved on the second partition, henceforth shall be referred to as the confidential data partition, indicated on this slide in green. The third is the internet data category. This type of data may contain viruses, therefore it will be saved on the third partition, henceforth shall be referred to as the internet partition, indicated here in red. The core of this invention is a main switch that will be added to hard disk drives. This main switch will turn on and off a combination of read and write heads of the hard disk drive. The net result? Viruses will be neutralized and hackers will be denied access to all stored data. By assuming these four positions, the main switch will turn on and off different combinations of read and write heads of the hard disk drive. Thus it can turn on and off the read and write heads of program partition, confidential data partition, and internet partition, as we will see shortly. In PCs, the main switch may be placed on the side of keyboards, thus users may operate it easily and conveniently. On laptops, the main switch can be placed on a convenient location, at the side of laptops for instance, to simplify access and use. Before we sketch out the impact of shifting the main switch into different positions, please note that when the read or write heads are colored in green, that means they are on, and if they appear in red, that means that they are switched off. So what happens when the main switch is in position 1, the so-called normal mode? At this position, the write heads of the program partition are off. Thus all installed program files, such as Microsoft Office and Photoshop, are safe and protected because program partition is in the read-only mode. That is to say, writing capability has been switched off. Furthermore, both the read and write heads of the confidential data partition are on. Thus users may safely access and use their confidential personal and corporate data. Finally, stored data will be safe from hackers and viruses because we are not surfing the internet, and the read and write heads of the internet partition are switched off, both shown here in red. This slide summarizes what happens when the main switch is at position 1, the so-called normal mode position. Here we are not surfing the net, but instead carrying out our normal daily work. Note the green and red colors of the read and write heads of the 3 different partitions. This position gives us both security and flexibility to access our confidential personal and corporate files without compromising our stored data. When we want to surf the internet or download suspicious data from CDs, flash memories, or other sources of questionable integrity, we shift the main switch to position number 2, the so-called safe mode position. At this position, all previously installed program files, like Photoshop and Microsoft Office, will be protected, simply because the write head of the program partition will be switched off, shown in this slide in red. Also, note that both the read and write heads of the confidential data partition will also be switched off, both shown here in red. Thus all personal and corporate confidential data are also secure from hackers and viruses. And since we are surfing the internet, both the read and write heads of the internet partition are switched on, both shown here in green, to facilitate downloading and writing data on the internet partition. Finally, the read head of the program partition will be switched on. Thus users will be able to access and use their already installed program files like Photoshop. Notice that when the main switch is at position 2, the so-called safe mode position, while we can safely surf the net because both the read and write heads of the internet partition are switched on, both heads are shown here in green, yet our confidential personal and corporate data are protected because both the read and write heads of the confidential data partition are switched off, as both are shown here in red. That is to say, writing capability on the confidential data partition has been eliminated. When the main switch is at position number 3, the so-called download mode position, new program files can be downloaded from the internet onto the program partition. But before we start downloading anything, we have to shift a lever situated between positions 2 and 3 to allow the main switch to be shifted to position 3. Position number 3 switches off only the read and write heads of the internet partition, both shown here in red, while all read and write heads of the other 2 partitions are switched on. All 4 heads here are shown in green. Thus, at this position, we may download new program files such as Microsoft Office and Photoshop, and upon completion of program installation, the lever on the main switch will be shifted back to position number 2, the so-called safe mode position, so that we may resume our everyday use. Once back in position number 2, the safety latch on the main switch will be locked to prevent the user from moving the main switch back to position number 3 accidentally. Notice the safety latch situated between position 2 and 3. This is a safety mechanism designed to prevent the user from accidentally shifting the main switch from position 2 to 3. It is crucially important to understand exactly what happens when the read and write heads of the internet partition are switched off. This is equivalent to removing this partition's arms. Consequently, no virus can be read, since what is left in essence are only some magnetic particles sticking on a rotating disk. When we want to format the computer for the first time, we must shift the main switch to position number 4, the so-called formatting mode position. To achieve that, the second latch must be shifted to allow the main switch to move from position number 3 to position number 4. At position number 4, all read and write heads are on, as all heads are here seen in green. Position number 4 is securely protected by the second safety latch. When we want to format the computer for the first time, the main switch is shifted from position 3 to position 4. To achieve that, the second latch, situated between position 3 and 4, is pulled back to allow the main switch to move to position 4. When formatting is completed, the second latch is pulled back again to allow the main switch to return to position 3. The internet has revolutionized the world of communication, but has also shown us the dark side of the digital age. Today, nasty viruses circle the globe, lurking in hard disk drives and bogus software, ready to attack computers, paralyze giant corporations, and wreak havoc on a global scale. The resulting financial losses can be measured in billions of dollars, and an entire industry has developed to combat viruses and hackers. This invention will put an end to this global menace.